Welcome to Tulsa Titans, highlighting our local professionals who are making an impact. Super excited today. I've known Bob for years, but I'm interviewing Bob Studebaker. He is the owner of GoBob Pipe and Steel. Bob, can you start by telling us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. Well, I was born and raised in Tulsa. Uh, Lived here all my life, except for a couple of years in Ada, Oklahoma. Actually started college down there and then came back to Tulsa University. Married my junior high school sweetheart. We just celebrated our 47th last week. And started this business 28 years ago. And progress was really slow at first. So I didn't have any money to work with, but slowly, we've overcome that obstacle and been able to turn it into something. Our company, a lot of people hear pipe and they automatically go to the oil patch in their thoughts because, we are so, Oklahoma is an oil state. And really, I don't sell anything to oil and gas companies at all. It started out selling pipe and steel products to farmers and ranchers. And believe it or not, they use a lot of it in their fencing and in their corral systems and whatnot. They used to use wood in the old days, but they soon learned that, wood doesn't stand up, it rots and gets termites and all that stuff. And if they put up the right kind of pipe fence, they can, get a lifetime out of it. But I had accumulated all these customers that were farmers and ranchers, so it was only natural that I expand vertically because there's a lot of other products that they use that in the ranching business. There's all kinds of cattle handling equipment, and there's feed bunks, there's hay feeders, and then you get into hay. And you've got trailers to transport the hay, self-loading and self-unloading. And, it's just grown from there. And been really blessed that we've done as well as we've done. That we've always tried to be, we've always been honest with people, and we stand behind our products. Sometimes it hurts real bad. Especially when knotheads in your yard send a crowding tub off to Utah or somewhere, and it's the guy ordered it clockwise and we send him a counterclockwise. Well, it's not worth even hauling it back with a freight. So we sent him a new one out there to replace it and just left it there for whatever he wanted to do with it. So those things have been hard, but we've built a reputation of being honest, standing behind our equipment, and we've worked real hard to give the heaviest, strongest possible that we could do. A long time ago, we made a decision we could either go cheap and try to compete with all the feed stores and stuff, this lightweight equipment, lightweight panels and stuff, or we can go, the other route, be the elite, the heaviest, the best, the long lasting. Because in my opinion, and I think everyone would agree with me if they stopped and thought about it, it is cheaper if you're not replacing something constantly, if it's holding up to the abuse that you have to give it. So is that enough?
Yeah, absolutely. And you said something interesting when it comes to business was, there are mistakes. And as you grow a business, those mistakes, a lot of times you have ownership for, but other people make them. In your situation, you're going to lose a lot of money by being honest, but you've been in business a long time. So there's something to that too. I mean, in the short run, people can go, well, it may not be that big of a deal, but your reputation's everything. You attribute that to why you stayed in business?
Oh, I guarantee it is. I promise you it is. There's a lot of, when we're buying raw materials, there are a lot of unscrupulous characters out there selling them. And so there's a lot of, you have to be real cautious. In other words, if I'm selling to somebody, if that person doesn't have a reputation, he's going to have to pay me before it leaves my yard, before it gets on the truck. By the same token, when I'm buying something, because we have established a reputation, hey, no problem, load the truck, send it to us, we'll mail you a check. and that's been, that makes operating a lot easier when, and that's just one facet of it. Just, there's many things that have to do with stand behind your product. There's a lot of things involved in that.
Well, that's what comes with running a business for as long as you have, and you've been in it a while. So we were talking off mic about technology. We dug into one of the things I like to talk about is what business executives, especially ones with some season to them, they consume and what they don't consume. And you brought up a unique point that, man, since the smartphones entered the business, there's a lot of distraction, a lot of not good things. Young people see it as a big opportunity, but you've seen the changes. You want to talk a little bit more about, where you spend your time and what you've seen that technology do?
Yeah, to be honest with you, I wish cell phones would never come around. It adds a lot of, I have to use them. I have to use this computer, like we're on this Zoom call right now, to be competitive, if nothing else. But it adds a lot of unnecessary stress on everybody involved, on the buyer, the seller, customer, the yard hands, constantly having to answer that telephone. And then now it's text, and now it's emails on it. And if people had to go to a telephone, pick it up, and call you, number one, you're going to get a lot more done quicker. You don't think you do, but you're not wasting your time looking at spam emails, texts that come out of nowhere. You have no idea what they are, what it's about. But you got to look at them. You got to take that time and do it. So technology in that respect, I don't think it's been helpful to us, because it's opened the door, it's opened the Pandora's box to a lot of other things that are bad influence on our kids and whatnot. So I'm not a real, of course I'm older. I'm not a real technology nut. There are some good things that have come from technology, in the medical field, and oil well gas abatement, plugging, those sort of things. But there's no value in TikTok and some of related apps like that. I just don't see it. So I'm just being honest.
No, that's what you're here for. That's what the podcast is for, is honesty. When you talked about being efficient with your time, is there something that you do every day or every week that helps you be effective? Especially you guys are going through right now. It's been hotter longer. We were setting records in the state of Oklahoma manufacturer industry specifically. So what are you doing? What are you thinking about that helps you in this season?
Well, we've got that. There's more than one answer to that question. To the specific problem that's happening right now, and that is all the heat without rain. Most of our customers in Oklahoma and Texas, central Kansas, their pastures have burned up. And so they got two choices. One, they can start feeding the hay that they've already cut, that they were holding for the winter. They can start feeding that, or they can start feeding a supplement out of a bag, which is a whole lot more expensive. Or, by the way, if they do start feeding their hay right now, they won't have enough to last through the winter, and then they're buying hay from other people at elevated costs. And forage is the number one expense in raising cattle, so it's very important. So they're either going to have to do that, or they have to sell their cows. Now, who buys them? Well, some feedlots buy some of them. Packers will buy some of them if it's the right time. But a lot of them are bought by cattle buyers that are going to turn around and sell them in areas of the country that aren't affected by this drought. So where do we focus our marketing? We focus to those areas of the country that are not affected by drought right now. And because those guys are taking on more cattle than they normally run, they're going to need expanded corrals. They're going to need newer, better equipment. And so that's an adjustment that we have made to counter the problem we're incurring right now. Because if we just depended on our sales in a 200-mile radius, we wouldn't sell enough to cover the structure that we've spent 25 years building up. um, on a more long-term basis, of something that I do every day is something I don't do anymore. But what I do every day, I've got a spiral notebook right here, and every morning I transfer all my to-dos from one page to the next. And as I transfer them, I cross off the ones, this is low technology, you understand. I cross off the ones I've accomplished and put the ones back on there I haven't, plus I add the new ones. Now, what I've done recently is I'm delegating a lot more. I'm putting trust into my people more. And that process has actually allowed us to grow faster, because I'm able to do things that before, I just spent my whole day solving problems. That was it. And I looked down at my to-do list and there's nothing I could cross off. I hadn't accomplished anything other than solve a bunch of problems. So now I've divided up my team into sales and marketing, transportation and purchasing, and then yard operations. And I have a person that's ahead of each of those. I meet with them once a week and we go over how things are doing. And I found by delegating that, I can go out and I can, here recently I've taken on, we've never sold, we've sold hay trailers and some flatbed trailers for a long time, but I've never sold dump trailers. I've never sold a lot of flatbed trailers. And also I've expanded our squeeze chute line, whereas we used to carry one brand, now we got 5. And that gives my customers a choice, when they come in. I'm not just having to say, hey, mine's great and everyone else is bad. I can go, hey, I got 5 different ones you can pick from here. Which one works best for you? And we try to help them figure that out. So is that kind of what you're looking for?
Yeah. And with executives, and you'll find it in almost every book, right? When they talk about really running as a leader and running as an executive well, in the top 5, you find delegation.
Mm-hmm.
You really do, because it frees you to think about things that, like you said, that the changes and what's happening.
Hey, that's hard. That's hard to do.
Yeah.
When you take your baby that you started out, in your living room or your kitchen, in my case, and you've had your finger on everything for years, it's hard to let go. It really is. You just have to have faith in your people. And if they do screw up, teach them what they did wrong so they don't make that mistake again. If you never do that, then your life is just going to be a flurry, without accomplishing anything for the long run, without really doing things that'll help your company. So
absolutely. And there's a wrong way and a right way to delegate. And I'm sure when you first, and I've experienced too, when you first start delegating, you realize really fast, oh, well, this person needs more information. What have you learned, and what's kind of your process to delegate and then hold people accountable to that delegation?
Well, first of all, we've had, a lot of different people go through there, and some of them, you have to pick the person that adapted to their skills. Like the guy I've got in charge of my yard and who unloads the trucks, loads the trucks, make sure the pipe gets on the right racks, make sure, checks out the material, the squeeze chutes and the trailers and whatnot when they come in, make sure there aren't any issues with them. I couldn't get him to sit in an office. There's no way he would sit in an office. So plus his background is in ranching. He's been outside all his life and he enjoys that. So I'm going to give him something that he enjoys and he has some background in. My sales manager, the guy's in charge of sales and marketing, completely different. He's been in sales all his life. When he came to me, or when I recruited him, he was selling insurance. He's working for Farm Bureau and it was, they have a lot of rural customers and whatnot. And that's why attracted me to him. And then I watched his sales skills. I supplemented him with what I knew. I provided him with training, that canned training, like videos and tapes and things from good sales trainers, and just trained him up. So now I feel confident in him. I just go right on down the line, and those people are allowed to hire their people, and they're accountable for what their people do. And so when we have a weekly review of what's going on, and we discuss what our goals are and that sort of thing, it's just a lot more efficient. I mean, we move along, and I make those meetings mandatory of a maximum of 1 hour. I mean, 1 hour goes by, we're right in the middle of a sentence, we're cutting it off. And that has taught them, when you come in, you better be concise. You better have your ducks in a row, so that Bob doesn't cut me off in mid-sentence. And they're adapting to it. Works great.
That's great. And if anybody missed it, really, I think what's so special, and I haven't had anybody I've interviewed say this yet, is you have a process for delegating, but you think about your people first in the delegation.
Absolutely.
You know your people.
Yeah.
And so you're not giving somebody cookie cutter every single time. It makes them successful. And then the other big point is you have people that you know, like, trust, and you put them over other people and let them run. And then you guide them from there, because you can't touch everything and be successful.
That's right. Absolutely. You're absolutely correct.
So we were off mic, and this was so good. It's especially your industry. Oklahoma has been under it's like putting a they used to fry the bugs. You took the magnifying glass and put the sun on it. It was just been that way since May.
Yeah.
Setting the records, it affects you, but you said, we've been here before.
Yeah,
so
we have.
Address when you've been there before, because a lot of people that listen to this, they're walking through maybe COVID, maybe something in their industry for the very first time. They feel like there's no hope. Can you speak to why you're so optimistic and what you've learned from, hey, we've been here before?
Well, this time around, I don't have to learn how to adapt to it. I've been through it. We figured it out the first time. This was back in 2011, 2012. I don't know if anybody remembers, but hottest period that I remember in my lifetime, every day we were having temperatures above 110, 112, 115, 111. And it went on for a long time. And the same thing happened. Guys had to start feeding out or sell off their cows. And we were going, what are we going to do? Well, it dawned on us, let's follow the cows. And so this time around, we just made an adjustment in our advertising and our marketing to target those people, and not put as much money and effort into targeting the guys that are burnt up. Now there are some people that have decided they're going to start feeding early. They've run their own numbers. Maybe they've got an excess hay from last year or something. I don't know what their individual situation is, but you can't be wasting it. And so back in 2011, 2012, we developed a feeder that would conserve hay. In other words, I'm sure you've seen those ring feeders sitting out in the pasture, and there's more hay outside of them than that's inside of them. And so we figured out a way to design a feeder where the cattle didn't drag all the hay out. And so we're putting more of our advertising money into promoting our hay feeders now. Normally, we wouldn't even approach that until late September, early October, but we're starting early with it. So that's helping as well. That's just an example of how you've been through it before helps you out. So, and we made mistakes back in 2012. But, we overcame them. And so here we are again. And I feel like we'll do a better job this time. We know exactly what to do.
And for anybody walking through it the first time with they're in their head, they're facing business challenges they've never faced. Hope is kind of bleak for them. What's the mindset or the optimism that you had when you went through things that helped? Is there a mindset or maybe a relationship that
it was a confidence. I mean, this time around, yeah, it was a confidence, instead of spending any time, trying to figure things out and wringing our hands and that sort of thing. We just made adjustments. Boom, it was done. And we haven't knock on wood, we haven't skipped a beat. We're still rocking and rolling.
That's awesome. And you touched on this a little bit earlier when you said, hey, I trust my people.
Oh yeah,
my people. That's one of the ways that you distill some of your values in your team. There's some other things that you do intentionally to distill some of the ways that you believe.
I tell them be honest, no matter how hard they don't want to. Tell them be honest, and I like the old Bible verse: "The truth will set you free," and it does. It really works. And so when we screw up, we admit it, and we're honest with our customer, and then we make it right. We stand behind our products, and everybody knows that's my mentality, and so they adopt that, and they speak confidently when they're talking to a customer. They don't have to hem haw, beat around the bush. I don't know what I'm going to do. Hey, you got a screwed up product. We're going to fix it. We're going to make it right. And so they can say that with confidence. Mr. Jones, we'll get you a new hay trailer out there and just swap you out. And they like being able to do that. And I just think that's so important. I really do.
Oh, 100% agree. And I think what you said there for anybody, again, getting started or trying to figure this thing out, is when you stand behind your word or you have a high sense of values, it really does affect every department in your organization.
Absolutely.
You may not be able to see it, but it affects the way they think, the way they execute, the whole thing.
Hey, I'll give you another example. Occasionally we'll get a shipment, and let's say there's the guy sent us a bill for 9,000 feet of 2 3/8. But when the truck came in, there's 10,000 feet on it. Yeah, we could keep our mouth shut, but we don't do that. We notify them, say, hey, you sent us too much. We're going to send you a check for the balance. Well, that develops a relationship between our company and that specific individual. And it also builds the overall reputation of the company when you do things like that. Now, those things aren't hurtful because you're still getting your value. But the tough things to do, I think I gave you that example where my yard guys loaded a crowding tub, which is a big piece of equipment, takes up half the truck. And we make them that go clockwise, and we make them that go counterclockwise as you crowd the cattle through it. Guy in Utah ordered it. Well, we shipped the wrong one. And we found out pretty quickly that if we had to pay freight to haul it back, it wasn't worth hauling back. So we sent him a new one, dropped it off, said, Mr. Jones, if you can sell that to a neighbor, you want to cut it up for scrap, what do you want to do? It's just not economically feasible for us to haul it back unless you want us to. And they always say, no, I'll find something to do with it. But again, develops reputation and a really good relationship with that specific person. And I guarantee you, in that particular case, that gentleman has ordered from us, I don't know how many times since, that he's added things and ordered them from us. And I doubt very seriously if he even priced anyone else. So I think he knew that he could trust us, to be fair. And in this day and time, there's, as I said before, a lot of unscrupulous people out there that think that's to rip somebody off is a badge of honor or something, and it is not. It is not. It'll in the long run, it's going to pay off if you do the right thing.
I 100% agree. I have one more question. I'm a big reader, and you alluded to this with your sales professional. You went out and got somebody's life's work in sales, they dedicated their whole career to something, and you were able to learn from it. Are there a couple books that you would recommend that have really helped you or that you've gone back to?
Oh man. When it comes to personal development, things of that nature, I am so old school. I'm gonna name names that a lot of your listeners probably never heard of. But you ever heard of Zig Ziglar? See at the top.
Yep.
Or J. Douglas Edwards, How to Close a Sale. These are old timers, and I got them on cassette tape, just to give you an idea how old they are. But they're great. They're classics. I haven't read anything recently that really piqued my interest, and I'm a reader. I mean, I've read thousands of books, but when it comes to books, I just got to say, and that's how I shut off at night. When I lay down in bed, a million things going through my head, but I can pull out a good novel I've been working on, and I can read that for a while, and pretty soon I'm sleepy. I'll lay it down and I'll go to sleep. And I got a library full of them. Now I've got a Kindle full of them. I got an iPad full of them. That downtime is important too. If you don't have rest your brain a little bit, eventually it'll wear you down and affect your the way you function. So, but as far as personal development goes, those guys, those are my two heroes. As far as fictional go, try out Lonesome Dove, the book, not the movie. And my favorite all-time book is called Daughter of the Legend by Jessie Stewart. I read it for the first time when I was in the 5th grade, and I've read it a dozen times since. And it's just, I don't know, that's just me. It may not be everybody's thing, but that's how I cool off in the evening.
If anybody wants to reach out to you or has a question, is there a preferred way to get a hold of you?
Yeah, well, the email is priority@gobobpipe.com, and they can call me too. I mean, if it's somebody that's you really want to learn something from someone that's got some, not that I'm the guru, but someone that's been through the wars and has the experience, I'll give you my cell phone number. It's 918-231-1090, 918-231-1090. So there you go.
Everybody, thanks again. This is Kellen Cowan with New Wave Solutions. Bob, thank you for giving.
You bet, not a problem. I'm happy that I can pass it on a little bit. It really does. I really am. And thanks for having me on.